Hi, my name is Alistair Chapman, and in this video I'm going to take a look at this lens here, the Tokina 16-28 full frame cine zoom. The one that I have here has a PL mount and it's a T3 lens. Now the reason I decided to look at this lens was because I was recently lucky enough to have shot with the new Venice 2 camera from Sony in 8K using Tokina's Vista prime lenses. And I have to say, I was incredibly impressed by those lenses. They produce an absolutely beautiful image. And these lenses have very minimal focus breathing. There is virtually no chromatic aberration, no matter how you use the lenses, even wide open. And at T1.5, they're very fast full frame lenses. The images from them are very slightly warm, and that helps give the lenses a slightly classic, almost vintage look that's really very appealing. And I really look forward to using the Vista primes again another time. But that led me to also want to look at this lens, the 16-28mm PL zoom, because this is a really quite affordable full frame wide angle zoom, and it's still fast at T3. And that combination is still quite hard to find at a sensible price: fast, wide and zoom. So I really wanted to see what it could do. So I took it into Windsor, which isn't very far from where I live, and had a play with it. And I was impressed right away. It is a very wide lens at 16mm, and there are some distortions to the image, but there's nothing nasty, there's nothing that looks really odd or peculiar about these images. And like the Vista primes, it has very minimal chromatic aberration. It's not quite as low and quite as good as the primes, but it's really good for a zoom lens. In terms of sharpness and resolution, well, I was only really able to try it on my Sony FX9, which has a 6K sensor that records downsample to 4K. And the lens easily resolves everything that this camera can capture. So at the very least, it's good enough for 4K and probably for well beyond that. From an operational point of view, you have a nice 300-degree travel on the focus ring. It's very nicely weighted, it's not too stiff, it's not too free, it's really nice to use. And then you have your 16-28mm zoom and a nice well-marked iris ring at the back. The front element of the lens is nicely recessed, so even if you put the lens down on its face on a flat surface, you're not going to scratch that expensive front element. In terms of contrast and flare, it's very well controlled on this lens, and even when I was shooting almost directly into the sun and it was a nice bright day, I didn't notice any significant loss of contrast due to veiling flare. Now, being such a wide-angle full-frame lens at 16mm, as you would expect, there are some distortions in the image, but those distortions are very well controlled and mainly manifest themselves as some minor barrel distortion. It's really not at all objectionable and no worse than any other lens in this class. The images that I shot don't show any nasty artifacts. I don't see a significant amount of vignetting in the corners or any softness in the image out towards the edges that's anything to worry about. Zooming from 16-28mm during a shot doesn't present any problems, and you can quite happily do that, seeing as this lens is parfocal. Well, I think this is a really nice lens. It is a proper digital cinema lens, it's very well constructed, and the images it produces are really nice. Given the price, I think this lens represents excellent value for money.